Charles was able to ask you a number of questions, and you mentioned the range, of course, that being a big factor that people are interested in. Have you noticed that in different temperatures or different times of the year that the range has dramatically shifted in either direction, either giving you more or less range?
It is definitely a shorter range in the wintertime. And I think it's because of the battery temperature management system. It uses more power to heat up the batteries, especially when I first started up in the mornings. Summers, the AC effect is kind of negligible, but I don't drive a lot in the wintertime. I do know that the heater would take a whole lot more energy than the AC does in the summer. So all of my trips have been pretty much warm weather, and I've pretty consistently been able to go 180 miles from charger to charger.
That's great. And I noticed you've got the Falcon Wing doors up. Is that something that you find a lot of people will come up and ask you about that or ask you about the car? It seems to attract a lot of attention.
It is one of the most fascinating things about the car is that the doors don't just swing open, they flip open. And there's a lot of, I don't know, it's a novelty, but I think it's also functional. Right now I'm standing under the shade of the door. If it rains, I've actually got a door over me. I've had very tall, and to me, because I'm only 5'7", anyone over 6'2" is very tall. But I've had tall people get in the back, the second row. I've got some stuff on the seat, so ignore that. And then I've got a third row. I've got them folded down now, so there's a lot of cargo room that's available back there. But yes, the Falcon Wing doors are a novelty. I've heard a lot of Tesla naysayers say that, they're a big problem area. I've got 2 teenage sons, so my backseat gets used every time that I take the family somewhere, and I've never had a problem with my Falcon Wing doors. So it's I just think it's cool. When I saw it, I didn't want the S anymore. I wanted a Model X, and it worked out. So I saw that question in the chat, and yes, the Tesla app that controls both my cars has a speed limit that you can put in, and it's really the only defense. If I ever get carjacked, I can drop the speed limit down to 35 miles an hour, cool. And no one could, outrun a cop at that pace.
That's really cool.
Yeah, the other thing that I could do is turn the heat up so that it's unbearable for the driver as he's trying to carjack me at 35 miles an hour. But it would be nice if there would be a kill switch on the app so that I could stop the car after I'm safely someplace where the carjacker wouldn't want to come back after me and try and take my phone.
So, John, have you had a lot of passengers in the car? And I know with the Model 3, the door handle from the inside is a little confusing to push the button to get out. What has other people, what is their reaction to riding in your car, or have you given many rides, and what are the experiences like for people that are not yourself?
Yeah, I love to show off my car. So first time my mom, who's in her late 70s, got in the car, I opened the door for her, and when she got in, I told her exactly what to do, and she still had a hard time holding the button and pushing the door open. One of my coworkers, who's also an IT guy, it trips them up every time because it is just not normal. Most folks pull a handle to get a door open, and everything's electronically controlled. So there's a learning curve. I had done the research and I knew that it would work. So I'm perfectly happy with it. My kids figured it out instantly. My wife figured it out after about 2 or 3 trips. But yes, you're right. These door handles are all electronically controlled, and people are not accustomed to it.
So I want to ask about your neighborhood. I mean, what people typically see is when one house buys an electric car or a Tesla, that you'll start seeing more Teslas or more other electric cars kind of pop up around the neighborhood as time goes on. Is that something that you've seen where you live?
I've only seen one other Tesla in my neighborhood, but at my workplace, we had a new guy who had joined us, and he'd been thinking about it and thinking about it. I took him on a test ride in my Model 3, and the next week he bought a Model 3 from CarMax. So now there are four, and I guess I work at a pretty big building, but even so, to have four Tesla Model 3s in the same parking lot, that's a lot. And when I got there, I think there might have been one that I saw, and then of course I bought mine, and then someone else bought one, and then my recent coworker bought one. So it's growing at work. Uh,
Okay.
I've got
Contagious.
that.
It's contagious
It
in a
is.
good way.
Yeah.
That's great. I think when you were having some technical difficulties, I had asked, have you played around with the Easter egg that allows the car to put on a little show for you?
Oh yeah. Charles can tell you every time he's had me down at a Richmond farmers market, they have live entertainment. And there's usually just a wonderful vocalist there playing the guitar and singing songs. But the instant they stop or take a break, I turn on the orchestra Christmas anthem and make the car do its dance. I've gone back to Indiana for family reunions, and as soon as people had their plate full of barbecue and I was done eating, I made it do the song and dance. It's a neat trick. So far, I think there's only one other car that does it, and it's a Chinese X-King, and I think they stole the
E7.
idea from Tesla.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot of ideas from Tesla. Um, Specifically about the reaction that people have had. What is your favorite question that you've gotten about the car, or favorite reaction that somebody has had about the Model X?
Okay, so on my last road trip back to Indiana, my mom went with us, and I dropped her off at my sister's. And when I opened the trunk to get her suitcase out, my sister says, "What are you doing in the engine?" And I'm like, "No, no, no." And my mom turns around and says, "Oh, I forgot. You put my suitcase in that secret compartment or whatever." I think the frunk is the biggest shock. Whenever I open it up, I've actually had lots of people say, "Well, where's the engine?" And I'm like, "Well, it's not an engine. There are two motors, and they're positioned between the drive wheels, and they're on the bottom of the car where the motor should be." And they're like, "Well, how does it go?" And I'm like, "It's got motors." So people are shocked at the emptiness under the hood.
That's great. That's great. I mean, I could probably ask you questions forever. Charles, I don't know what our time frame's like, so
I'd say if you're under 2 or 3 minutes,
okay.
and I think there's some. I would be curious to do a walk around the car in terms of what the features. Actually, in the interior, since you're already saying what features you like and what you find
Sure.
unusual, and then maybe do a quick outside as well.
All right. So I'm not sure how well this shows inside. I've got the windows down. I actually put seat covers on, but these headrests are actually adjustable on the model year that I've got. So there's a little button on the side that, if you're really tall or really short, the headrest will go up and down. Um, in case folks didn't know, there's this huge 17-inch display, and if I'm not capturing it well, I'm not sure. I wish I could switch cameras. I wonder if I can do that on this Zoom thing. That way I could look at what you're seeing. Let's see, camera, rear, and all right, looks like I did it. I switched cameras. So that's the main screen, and right now it's got the main menu up. And from this main menu, I've got all of the doors are electronic. So I open the driver's door with a push of a button. Try not to make anyone seasick and move too fast. Open the passenger door with a push of a button. The Falcon Wing door is clearly open with a push of a button. There's a whole menu of choices here. One of the greatest things about this car is there are constant software updates. So in the last software update, I got notifications on my app to tell me if a window or a door is left open after I walk away from the car. So over the 12 months that I've owned it, I think there probably been half a dozen significant improvements. And I think one of them was an algorithm update that gave me better range. So I've got a dual motor all-wheel drive car. And when they updated the algorithm, I think it actually turns the motor off once I get up to a cruising speed. So I get better range by only providing power to one motor after it's cruising. And that's my theory. I'm not an engineer. I can't tell you for sure if that's what happened, but that's what I think happened. So it's got cool satellite maps, and I've got satellite radio. One of the benefits of buying this used was I get the continuous premium connectivity. So I've got, if I go to streaming, options to go to Spotify or XM, TuneIn, and then I think there's another streaming service on here that it just works, and I don't have to pay any extra for it. On the newer cars, you get it for 30 days, and then you pay $9.99 a month in streaming. So the benefit to having the Model X or Model S is you also have a dash that has additional information on it. So right now the car is stopped, and not sure if you can see it, but the picture is with all of the doors open, the image shows. If I close all the doors, the image should update and show all the doors as closed. And then it's completely configurable. So my wife doesn't care about the technology. I've got gauges up that tell me how many miles per kilowatt hour I get. There's that little squiggly orange line that tells me what my past driving history has been, and I keep it on for the past 30 minutes. My commute to work's pretty short, but it's mostly uphill. And then when I come home, it's downhill, and it's kind of cool to watch at least in my mind, because I'm a geek, to watch that squiggly line at the end of my trip tell me how efficiently the car operated. And then the other side, I've got a trip counter that tracks it's my current trip since my last charge. And then that trip A counter, I basically had it on, just left it on trip A since I bought the car. So that's how I know I've driven 15,316 miles. And if someone wanted to do the math, I think you could calculate the car's efficiency because I've used 5,300 kilowatt hours. It's a 90 kilowatt battery. So you could calculate battery cycles and all that technical stuff. And then my average is 348 watt hours per mile. So I did some quick math to calculate that most of the time, compared to an SUV that gets 25 miles to the gallon, I'm driving for 50% the cost of gas when you compare 11 cents per kilowatt hour of electricity to 2 gallons of gas in a 25 mile per hour vehicle. So let's see, I've got a little aftermarket tray that I added here that holds my coins, but this side actually has a wireless phone charger to it, so I can drop my phone there and charge it up. Underneath that, there's a huge compartment. I've got 2 bottles of water, but they made or sold the car with these huge cup holders, so you could put a big thermos bottle down here if you're going on a long drive. I find it more practical to just use it as a hiding space for my water bottles and my wireless charger. And then right behind that, out of the way.
Hey, John?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for showing that to us. I was just checking the time, but I did want to add that I appreciate you talking about the feedback that the car gives you, because for a lot of EVs, they do, each of them do it a little bit differently, but they provide information while you're driving, and also, whenever if you push certain buttons, to tell you about how efficiently you drive, in terms of how much you're braking, how much you're accelerating. And I know the Bolt does that, Leaf does that, and I think other EVs provide that kind of feedback, which I think in the long run helps you to be a more efficient driver, which, whether it's a gas car or an electric car is it's a good thing. Particularly for people like me who tend to be a bit of a, lead foot and want to put the pedal to the metal, being able to get that constant feedback kind of helps to sort of, correct yourself. So thank you for bringing that particular thing up. So with that, thanks, John, for showing us the car. I will open it up.
Sorry, I couldn't drive around.
Yeah, sorry. I would actually encourage folks. I know in Richmond there's a Tesla showcase where you can go and do test drives, and I'd encourage folks to do that, or to go to there's National Driver Electric Week or other times of the year when a chaptered Electric Auto Association or other folks are having events, to take the opportunity to sit in the car. If you can test drive it, because it's a very unique experience. And the only way to know is to do it yourself. So I would encourage folks, even in days of with the pandemic, auto dealerships are allowing people these days. You can just, they'll literally will bring the car out front, and you sit in the car and you can drive off with it on your own and bring it back. You have to give them a driver's license and other things, but the nice thing is with the pandemic, you can actually have some time with the car to yourself, not have a salesperson there with you, and trying to steer you one way direction or the other. So that I think is a helpful thing. So I encourage folks to do that.
I will add to that, Charles. If anybody in the Richmond or Central Virginia area, like within 100 miles of Richmond, wants to look at an electric car and they want to have me come along with them, I'm willing to offer that and spend some time and help them look at an EV and kind of look at different things that they might not have, ask questions they might not know to ask. But definitely, if anybody's close, obviously, unless you want to fly me somewhere, I could use a vacation. But to go on a test drive with them and kind of be that resource.
Yeah, and if there's any specific model that somebody is considering, I'm more than happy to connect anybody with the owner of that specific model from someone who's in our EV ambassador network. So we have lots of, between the three of us, we can absolutely help you go electric.
Gotcha. Thank you for that.
I've got a question though.
Sure.
I think I found it on Facebook or either maybe the Richmond Drive Electric, but Virginia has zero incentives for electric.
That is
either
technically
power.
true. We are working on it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if there's been any progress towards getting. I can't use my own Tesla referral code when I buy Tesla stuff because Virginia won't let me accept 1,000 free miles of supercharging because incentives aren't allowed. It's ridiculous.
I can't speak to that. I have no idea about the legality surrounding that, but I do know that there is no state-funded EV incentive in Virginia. And we did pass a feasibility study this year. So currently, the Department of Environmental Quality, the Department of Mineral and Mines, the Tax Department, and the DMV are working with Virginia Clean Cities on what a program like that in Virginia would look like, considering a $4,500 state rebate. With COVID, the likelihood that program gets funded in 2021 is not super high because we have a $400 million budget deficit. But hopefully we are going to set up the structure of that program in the 2021 General Assembly, and then it would go into effect in 2022. But there are also a lot of models that still have the full federal tax credit. And there are dealers in Maryland, and this is a case-by-case basis, depending on the dealership, who are willing to work the cost of what the Maryland state tax rebate is into the price of your car, and they simply apply for the rebate themselves. So there are ways that dealerships are getting around that, but to Zach's point in the chat, it's a work in progress in Virginia specifically.
Good to know.
Good question. And I guess with that, we can shift to the Q&A.